The Russia-Ukraine war shows no signs of slowing down. On the contrary, Kyiv says Moscow launched the largest missile and drone attack since Ukraine was invaded in February 2022. The hardest hit was Ukraine's western region. Drones and missiles struck the western cities of Lutsk, Lviv and Ternopil. Ukrainian military claims that most of the projectiles were struck down. The far western city of Lutsk, in particular, bore the brunt of the heaviest Russian attack so far. Explosions also rocked Kyiv at around midnight. The Ukrainian Air Force says that Russia had attacked with 728 drones and 13 missiles, adding that its air defense systems intercepted 711 drones and that at least 7 missiles were destroyed. Ukrainian Air Force says that Russian forces deployed 728 Shahed-type attack drones and decoys, as well as 7 Kh-101 or Iskander-K cruise missiles and 6 Kinzhal missiles. Ukraine says that 8 civilians were killed in the latest Russian attacks in Donetsk. Ukrainian officials have also warned that the new wave of Russian strikes are destroying weapons hubs, supply lines and military bases with pinpoint accuracy. The latest strike beat a previous Russian record of 550 drones and missiles set earlier this month. It comes just after the United States U-turned on an announcement that it would reduce some weapon supplies to Ukraine. Ukraine has been marred by disturbingly frequent mass attacks on civilian targets, with Russia regularly terrorizing cities with ballistic and cruise missiles alongside record-breaking numbers of kamikaze drones. President Donald Trump says he approved sending U.S. defensive weapons to Ukraine and is considering additional sanctions on Moscow, underscoring his frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin over the growing death toll in Russia's war with Ukraine. As a presidential candidate, Trump pledged to end the war within a day, but he has not been able to follow through on that promise. Efforts by the current U.S. administration to broker peace have come up short. Fred Weir is a journalist and political commentator. He's now joining us live from Moscow. Mr. Weir, thank you very much for joining us at this time. What could be on Putin's mind at the moment? If you could describe to us in brief what exactly the Russian leader's strategy is following the advanced use of drones in the war.
Well, I think the first thing to note is that the Russians are probably frustrated with the Trump-inspired peace process. It isn't going anywhere to their point of view. And therefore, I think they have decided that a military solution, or at least in the short run, ramped up military pressure is the way for them to go. Another thing you probably need to note here is that the size of these attacks indicates that the Russian war economy is still building up, despite all the claims to the contrary that it's on its last legs, it's failing, and so on. The amount of production of ordnance, such as these Shahed drones, has gone through the roof, even compared to last year. Russia is only now starting to get a full-scale war economy going. And that indicates that they can keep this up and even increase this pressure for some time to come.
Mr. Weir, what can you read from recent Trump's tirade against Putin, even saying that the Russian president is full of or talks a lot of bull? What could have gone wrong? And could their broken camaraderie be the reason why Trump decided to arm Ukraine?
Well, I think it was predictable. Putin has, to his credit, laid out his terms from the very beginning. I've written several articles spelling out the Russian terms for a peace settlement, and I don't need any source other than speeches that Putin and his foreign minister and a few other officials have made. They have clearly spelled out what they expect, what their war goals are, and that they are not going to deviate substantially from any of them. So Trump's idea and the whole idea of Ukraine and of the EU has been that Trump will step in and use his influence with Putin to get concessions from Putin. Now, that's all very well, except that Putin has made it clear, and I guess he made it clear to Trump on the phone the other day, that he's not backing down on any of the key goals. So I think that explains Trump's about face on arming Ukraine, but it also probably doesn't make much difference. I mean, the sense I get from listening to people in Moscow is that an additional 10 Patriot missiles for Ukraine isn't going to be much help against these swarms of drones that the Russians are sending every night. I mean, that number of Patriot missiles will last about an hour on an average night.
Mr. Weir, very quickly, I just want your predictions. What do you think would happen in the next 1 week or so? Very quickly.
I think the Russians will continue their offensive. They are in the midst of not a great scale, but a serious summer offensive on all fronts. I think that the bombardments that will continue, and that the pressure on all the front lines, particularly in the Donbass, will step up.
Mr. Fred Weir, thank you very much for talking to us on WION World is One. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.